The grand ballroom of Ashworth Palace gleamed under thousands of crystal lights. Queen Isabella adjusted her emerald tiara one final time before stepping into the crowded hall. The annual charity gala was the most important social event of the year, where nobility from across the kingdom gathered to celebrate and donate to worthy causes. Princess Catherine stood near the orchestra, greeting guests with practiced grace. Her simple but elegant blue gown complemented her natural beauty. Around her neck, she wore nothing but a delicate silver chain with a small diamond pendant, a gift for her late grandmother. Catherine had always preferred understated jewelry, believing that true elegance came from within rather than from expensive ornaments. The princess moved through the crowd, speaking warmly with each guest. Children from the local orphanage performed a special dance on the main stage, their faces bright with excitement. Catherine had personally organized their participation, spending weeks helping them prepare. She believed deeply in using royal events to showcase the talents of ordinary citizens, especially young people who needed encouragement. King Frederick watched his daughter with obvious pride. Catherine had grown into a thoughtful and compassionate leader. Unlike some members of the royal family who attended events merely for appearance, Catherine genuinely cared about making a positive difference. She remembered names, asked about families, and followed up on promises made at previous gatherings. The evening's main attraction was a charity auction featuring items donated by various noble families. Each piece had historical significance or artistic value. The auction would raise funds for education programs across the kingdom. Catherine had personally donated a set of rare books from her private collection, wanting to contribute something meaningful rather than simply appearing for photographs. Near the palace entrance, a commotion arose as late arrivals began entering the ballroom. Lady Margaret, the king's sister-in-law, swept through the doors wearing a magnificent deep red gown. Her entrance commanded immediate attention, as she had intended. Margaret had always possessed a flair for dramatic timing and bold fashion choices that guaranteed she would be noticed and discussed. What caught everyone's attention, however, was not her gown but the stunning necklace adorning her throat. The Ashworth sapphire, a legendary piece of royal jewelry, sparkled brilliantly under the ballroom lights. The necklace featured 7 large sapphires surrounded by diamonds, each stone perfectly cut and historically significant. It was one of the most valuable pieces in the entire royal collection. Several guests whispered among themselves, surprised to see the famous necklace being worn at this particular event. The Ashworth sapphire was typically reserved for the most formal state occasions, such as coronations, royal weddings, or meetings with foreign dignitaries. Many had never seen it worn outside of official royal portraits or extremely important ceremonies. King Frederick noticed the necklace immediately. His expression shifted from pleasant social engagement to something much more serious. The Ashworth sapphire held deep personal significance beyond its monetary value. It had belonged to his beloved late wife, Queen Victoria, who had worn it on their wedding day and at every major royal celebration during their marriage. After her death 5 years earlier, Frederick had placed the necklace in the secure royal vault, unable to bear seeing it worn by anyone else. The king had specifically designated the Ashworth sapphire as part of Princess Catherine's future inheritance. When Catherine eventually married and became queen herself, the necklace would symbolize the continuation of their family's legacy. It represented love, commitment, and the sacred responsibility of royal duty. Frederick had made these wishes known to the entire family during the reading of Queen Victoria's will. Lady Margaret moved gracefully through the crowd, clearly enjoying the attention her appearance was generating. She paused frequently to speak with important guests, ensuring that everyone had ample opportunity to admire the spectacular necklace. Her confidence suggested she felt entirely entitled to wear such a precious family heirloom, despite the obvious breach of protocol and sentiment involved. Princess Catherine noticed the necklace from across the room. For a moment, she stood perfectly still, processing what she was seeing. The sight of her deceased mother's most treasured piece of jewelry adorning someone else felt like a physical blow. Catherine had spent countless hours as a child watching her mother prepare for special occasions, always fascinated by the ritual of putting on the beautiful sapphire necklace. The princess maintained her composure, continuing to smile and interact with guests as if nothing unusual had occurred. Years of royal training had taught her to control her emotions in public, regardless of personal circumstances. However, those who knew Catherine well could detect the slight tension in her shoulders and the way her smile no longer reached her eyes completely. Queen Isabella, Frederick's current wife and Catherine's stepmother, stood near the refreshment table speaking with foreign ambassadors. She had not yet noticed Margaret's dramatic entrance or the controversial choice of jewelry. Isabella had married Frederick 3 years after Queen Victoria's death, and she worked hard to respect the memory of his first wife while establishing her own place within the royal family. The relationship between Isabella and Catherine was cordial, but not particularly close. Catherine appreciated Isabella's efforts to honor her mother's memory, while Isabella respected Catherine's position as the legitimate heir and future queen. They maintained mutual respect and cooperation, understanding that family unity was essential for the stability of the monarchy. As the evening progressed, more guests began to notice and quietly discuss the appearance of the Ashworth sapphire. Older members of the nobility remembered seeing Queen Victoria wear it during her lifetime and understood its emotional significance to the royal family. Younger guests simply marveled at its beauty and obvious value, unaware of the complicated family dynamics surrounding its current appearance. The charity auction began as scheduled, with an enthusiastic auctioneer encouraging generous bidding for worthy causes. Princess Catherine participated actively, bidding on several items and encouraging others to support the fundraising efforts. She maintained her focus on the event's charitable purpose, refusing to let personal concerns overshadow the important work being accomplished for the kingdom's citizens. However, as Margaret continued to move through the crowd, displaying the necklace prominently, the situation became increasingly difficult to ignore. Several longtime family friends approached Catherine with confused expressions, clearly wondering how to address what they perceived as a significant breach of royal protocol and family sentiment. King Frederick watched the developing situation with growing concern. He faced a delicate challenge, addressing Margaret's inappropriate choice without creating a public scene that would embarrass the royal family and overshadow the charitable purpose of the evening. Royal dignity required handling such matters with discretion, even when dealing with clear violations of family agreements and emotional boundaries. The evening was still young, and Frederick knew he would need to find an appropriate moment and method to address the situation with Margaret directly. The Ashworth sapphire needed to be returned to its proper place, both physically and symbolically. Too much was at stake: family harmony, royal protocol, and, most importantly, respect for Queen Victoria's memory and Catherine's rightful inheritance. As the first hour of the gala concluded, the stage was set for a confrontation that would test the diplomatic skills of everyone involved. The sparkling lights of the ballroom reflected off the contested sapphires, creating an atmosphere of beauty shadowed by growing tension and unresolved family conflict that demanded immediate but careful resolution. King Frederick moved through the ballroom with measured steps, greeting guests while carefully observing Lady Margaret's movements. His years of diplomatic experience had taught him the importance of timing when addressing delicate family matters. A public confrontation would create scandal and overshadow the charitable purpose of the evening. Yet allowing Margaret to continue wearing the Ashworth sapphire sent the wrong message about royal protocol and family respect. Lady Margaret seemed to relish the attention her appearance was generating. She positioned herself strategically near the auction display, where the lighting was most dramatic and where important guests naturally gathered. Each movement was calculated to showcase the magnificent necklace to maximum effect. Her behavior suggested either complete ignorance of the jewelry's significance or deliberate disregard for family wishes and royal traditions. Princess Catherine continued her duties as hostess, but close observers could detect subtle signs of distress. She spoke more quietly than usual, and her customary warmth seemed slightly forced. When old family friends mentioned how beautiful the Ashworth sapphire looked, Catherine simply smiled and changed the subject to the evening's fundraising goals. Her grace, under pressure, demonstrated the strength of character that made her beloved by both the nobility and common citizens. Queen Isabella finally noticed the commotion surrounding Margaret and immediately understood the source of growing tension. Isabella had great respect for Queen Victoria's memory and had specifically requested that certain items remain untouched as tributes to the late queen. The Ashworth sapphire was at the top of that list. Seeing it worn casually at a social gathering felt like a violation of the careful balance Isabella had worked to maintain within the family. The charity auction continued successfully, with bidding reaching impressive amounts for worthy causes. A painting donated by the Royal Collection sold for enough money to fund an entire school library. Princess Catherine's donated books attracted passionate bidding from collectors who valued both literature and royal provenance. Despite the underlying tension, the charitable goals of the evening were being achieved magnificently. During a brief intermission in the auction, King Frederick approached Lord William, his trusted advisor and longtime friend. William had served the royal family for over 20 years and understood the delicate balance required to maintain both family harmony and public dignity. Frederick needed counsel on how to address the situation without creating a spectacle that would dominate newspaper headlines the following day. Lord William had already noticed the unusual appearance of the Ashworth sapphire and understood its implications immediately. He suggested that Frederick handle the matter privately, perhaps requesting a brief private conversation with Margaret in one of the smaller reception rooms adjacent to the ballroom. This approach would allow for direct communication while maintaining the discretion that royal protocol demanded in such circumstances. Meanwhile, Margaret continued to accept compliments on her jewelry with obvious pleasure. When asked about the history of the necklace, she provided accurate information about its creation and previous royal owners, demonstrating that she fully understood its significance and value. This knowledge made her choice to wear it even more puzzling and concerning to those who witnessed the evening's events. Several senior members of the nobility began to feel uncomfortable with the situation. The Duke of Pemberton, who had known Queen Victoria personally, approached Princess Catherine to express his surprise at seeing the necklace worn so soon after the late queen's death. Catherine handled his concerns diplomatically, thanking him for his memories of her mother while redirecting attention to the auction items and their charitable beneficiaries. The orchestra played softly in the background, providing an elegant soundtrack to the complex social dynamics unfolding throughout the ballroom. Couples danced gracefully, while others gathered in small groups to discuss politics, business, and social matters. On the surface, the gala appeared to be proceeding normally, but informed guests sensed the undercurrent of tension surrounding the controversial jewelry choice. Queen Isabella decided to approach the situation indirectly by engaging Margaret in conversation about the evening's charitable goals. Isabella hoped that gentle reminders about the appropriate focus for such events might encourage Margaret to recognize the inappropriate nature of her jewelry choice. However, Margaret seemed either oblivious to these subtle hints or determined to ignore them completely. Princess Catherine found herself in an impossible position. Royal protocol prevented her from directly confronting a family member in public. Yet her mother's memory deserved protection from what felt like casual disrespect. Catherine's training had prepared her for many challenges, but navigating family conflicts while maintaining public composure required extraordinary emotional strength and diplomatic skill. The evening's guest speaker, a representative from the primary charity benefiting from the auction, took the stage to thank attendees for their generous support. The speech provided a welcome distraction from the jewelry controversy, reminding everyone present of the important work being accomplished through their contributions. Children from local schools would receive educational opportunities that might otherwise be unavailable to them. As the speaker concluded her remarks, King Frederick made his decision. He would request a private conversation with Margaret immediately following the formal conclusion of the evening's program. This timing would allow the charitable activities to continue undisturbed while providing an opportunity to address the family matter before too many additional guests noticed and began discussing the situation among themselves. Lord William discreetly positioned himself near the ballroom's side entrance, prepared to escort Margaret to a private meeting when Frederick gave the signal. Years of experience had taught William the importance of having clear plans for managing delicate royal situations. Every detail needed careful consideration to prevent misunderstandings or public embarrassment that could damage the monarchy's reputation. Lady Margaret showed no signs of recognizing the growing concern her appearance was causing among family members and close friends. She continued to move through the crowd with confidence, accepting congratulations on her stunning appearance and engaging in animated conversations about fashion, jewelry, and social topics. Her behavior suggested either remarkable insensitivity or calculated defiance of family expectations. The charity auction resumed with renewed energy as rare items commanded impressive bids from generous supporters. An antique sword donated by a military museum attracted fierce competition among history enthusiasts. Princess Catherine participated actively in the bidding, demonstrating her commitment to the evening's charitable purpose while maintaining her composure despite the ongoing family tension. Queen Isabella watched the unfolding situation with growing concern for both immediate family harmony and long-term royal stability. The monarchy depended on public respect and internal unity to maintain its important role in the kingdom's governance. Family disputes that became public knowledge could undermine confidence in royal leadership and create unnecessary political complications. As the second hour of the gala progressed, the contrast between the evening's charitable success and the underlying family conflict became increasingly pronounced. Guests continued to enjoy themselves, bid generously for worthy causes, and celebrate the kingdom's philanthropic traditions. Yet those closest to the royal family understood that significant challenges lay ahead once the public festivities concluded. King Frederick prepared himself for what would undoubtedly be a difficult conversation with Margaret. The Ashworth sapphire represented far more than expensive jewelry. It symbolized love, loss, family continuity, and respect for those who had served the crown faithfully. Protecting those values required courage, diplomacy, and unwavering commitment to doing what was right rather than what was easy. The charity auction reached its climax as the final items were presented to enthusiastic bidders. Princess Catherine had successfully maintained her composure throughout the evening, but the strain was becoming visible to those who knew her well. Each glimpse of the Ashworth sapphire around Margaret's neck felt like another small wound, reopening grief that had never fully healed since her mother's death 5 years earlier. King Frederick positioned himself strategically near the auction platform, where he could observe both the proceedings and Margaret's continued display of the controversial necklace. His decision was firm. The conversation needed to happen immediately after the formal program concluded. Every additional minute that passed allowed more guests to notice and potentially discuss the inappropriate situation among themselves and later with others outside the palace. Lady Margaret appeared completely at ease, chatting animatedly with foreign dignitaries about art, culture, and fashion trends. When complimented on her exquisite jewelry, she graciously accepted the praise while providing brief historical details about the necklace's royal provenance. Her confident demeanor suggested either complete obliviousness to the controversy she was creating or deliberate satisfaction with the attention and discussion her choice was generating. Queen Isabella moved closer to Princess Catherine, offering subtle support through her presence without drawing attention to the family tension. Isabella understood the delicate position Catherine occupied, torn between personal grief, family loyalty, and royal duty. The Queen's own relationship with Queen Victoria's memory remained respectful and carefully maintained, making Margaret's casual display of such a significant piece particularly troubling. The evening's final auction item was a rare manuscript donated by the Royal Library. Scholars and collectors competed enthusiastically, driving the price to remarkable heights for the benefit of literacy programs throughout the kingdom. Princess Catherine bid aggressively on the manuscript, channeling her emotional energy into supporting the charitable cause while maintaining her public role as patron and advocate for education. As the auctioneer's gavel fell for the final time, polite applause filled the ballroom. The evening had raised a record amount for charity, surpassing all previous years and ensuring that educational programs would receive unprecedented support. Despite the underlying family conflict, the gala's primary purpose had been achieved magnificently through the generosity of attending guests and the dedication of organizing committee members. King Frederick caught Lord William's eye and nodded slightly. The time had arrived for the private conversation that could no longer be delayed. William moved discreetly toward Margaret, while Frederick began making his way through the crowd, stopping briefly to thank key supporters and donors before requesting the anticipated private meeting with his sister-in-law. Margaret noticed Frederick's approach and smiled warmly, completely unaware of the serious conversation that awaited her. She had enjoyed a successful evening socially, receiving numerous compliments on her appearance and engaging in stimulating conversations with interesting people from across the kingdom and beyond. The dramatic effect of her entrance and stunning jewelry had achieved exactly the impression she had hoped to create. Princess Catherine watched from across the room as her father approached Margaret. Part of her wanted to witness the conversation that would finally address the inappropriate use of her mother's necklace, but royal training and personal dignity prevented such behavior. Instead, she continued her duties as hostess, thanking departing guests and ensuring that the evening concluded on a positive note focused on charitable accomplishments. Lord William approached Margaret with practiced diplomacy, explaining that King Frederick requested a brief private conversation regarding family matters. Margaret showed no sign of concern or hesitation, agreeing readily to the meeting while continuing to display the sapphire necklace prominently. Her willingness to participate suggested either confidence in her position or genuine surprise that anyone might object to her jewelry choice. The smaller reception room adjacent to the ballroom provided perfect privacy for sensitive conversations. Elegant but intimate, it contained comfortable seating and beautiful artwork while maintaining the dignity appropriate for royal discussions. Frederick had chosen this location specifically because it allowed for frank conversation while remaining within the formal palace environment that reminded all participants of their responsibilities and roles. As Margaret entered the reception room, she finally seemed to sense that the conversation might involve more than casual family pleasantries. Frederick's serious expression and formal posture indicated that important matters required discussion. However, Margaret maintained her confident demeanor, settling gracefully into a chair while the sapphires caught the light from nearby crystal lamps. Frederick began the conversation carefully, acknowledging Margaret's stunning appearance and the positive impression she had made on evening guests. He thanked her for attending the gala and supporting the charitable causes that were so important to the royal family and the kingdom as a whole. This diplomatic opening allowed him to establish a respectful tone while preparing to address the central issue that required resolution. Margaret accepted the compliments graciously, expressing her own satisfaction with the evening's success and her pleasure at participating in such an important social and charitable event. She mentioned several conversations she had enjoyed with interesting guests and her admiration for the impressive auction results that would benefit so many worthy educational programs throughout the realm. The king then shifted the conversation carefully toward the topic that had necessitated this private meeting. He began by sharing memories of Queen Victoria and the special significance that certain personal items held for the family, particularly those pieces that represented important moments in their shared history. His tone remained respectful and gentle, avoiding any suggestion of accusation or confrontation. Margaret listened politely, occasionally touching the necklace unconsciously as Frederick spoke about Victoria's love for the Ashworth sapphire and its importance during major royal celebrations. She seemed genuinely interested in these historical details, asking questions about specific occasions when a late queen had worn the magnificent piece and expressing appropriate appreciation for such beautiful craftsmanship and royal tradition. Frederick explained the emotional significance the necklace held for Princess Catherine, describing how Victoria had often spoken of her hope that Catherine would wear it on her own wedding day and during her future reign as queen. He emphasized that these weren't merely sentimental wishes, but carefully considered decisions about family legacy and the symbolic importance of royal jewelry in representing continuity and tradition. As the conversation continued, Margaret's expression began to change slightly. She had not previously considered the deep emotional connections that others might feel toward pieces she viewed primarily as beautiful accessories. Her focus had been on the aesthetic impact and social impression rather than the personal grief and family significance that surrounded such historically important items. King Frederick maintained his diplomatic approach while making clear that the necklace needed to be returned to its designated place within the royal collection. He explained that certain pieces were reserved for specific occasions and specific people, not through arbitrary rules, but through careful consideration of their historical significance and emotional meaning to family members who had suffered great loss. Margaret's initial confidence began to waver as she fully understood the implications of her choice. She had selected the necklace because of its undeniable beauty and dramatic effect, without considering that others might view her decision as insensitive or inappropriate. The realization that she had caused pain to Catherine and concern of Frederick was clearly unexpected and troubling. The private conversation was approaching a crucial moment that would determine how the family would move forward from this difficult situation. Frederick had presented his concerns clearly and respectfully, while Margaret was beginning to understand the broader implications of her actions. The resolution would require grace, understanding, and commitment to family unity from everyone involved. Lady Margaret sat in stunned silence for several moments, her fingers unconsciously moving to touch the sapphire necklace as the full weight of King Frederick's words settled upon her. The realization that her dramatic fashion choice had caused genuine pain to Princess Catherine and created a significant breach of family protocol was clearly unexpected. Her face showed growing understanding mixed with embarrassment as she began to comprehend the true significance of what she had done. King Frederick watched Margaret's reaction carefully, recognizing the signs of someone who genuinely had not intended to cause harm, but was now grappling with the consequences of thoughtless actions. His years of leadership had taught him to distinguish between malicious intent and simple lack of consideration. Margaret's surprise seemed authentic, suggesting that her decision had been driven by vanity and poor judgment rather than deliberate cruelty or disrespect. The king chose to continue speaking gently, explaining how Princess Catherine had spent the entire evening maintaining her composure while seeing her deceased mother's most treasured possession displayed casually by someone else. He described Catherine's strength and grace, but also emphasized the emotional cost of such public displays of items that held deep personal significance for those still grieving the loss of someone beloved. Margaret's eyes filled with tears as she began to fully understand the pain her actions had caused. She had been so focused on making a spectacular impression at the gala that she had failed to consider the feelings of family members who might view her choice differently. The thought that Catherine had suffered throughout the evening while maintaining perfect royal composure was particularly distressing to Margaret, who had not intended such consequences. Frederick recognized that Margaret's emotional response was genuine and that she truly regretted her thoughtless decision. However, the damage had been done, and the situation required more than simple apologies to restore family harmony and proper respect for Queen Victoria's memory. The necklace needed to be removed immediately, and Margaret would need to demonstrate understanding of why such incidents could never happen again. Lady Margaret reached behind her neck with trembling fingers, struggling with the intricate clasp that held the Ashworth sapphire in place. The necklace that had made her feel so elegant and confident just hours earlier now felt heavy with the weight of family disappointment and personal shame. She had learned a painful lesson about the difference between wearing beautiful jewelry and respecting the deep emotional significance that certain pieces held for others. King Frederick stepped forward to assist with the difficult clasp, his movements gentle and respectful despite the serious nature of the conversation. As the necklace came free, he handled it with obvious reverence, treating it as the precious family heirloom it truly was rather than merely an expensive accessory. The sapphires seemed to glow with inner fire as they caught the light from the reception room's elegant lamps. Margaret apologized sincerely, her voice thick with emotion as she expressed her genuine regret for causing pain to Catherine and creating such an inappropriate situation at an important family event. She explained that she had chosen the necklace purely for its beauty and dramatic effect, without considering the deeper implications of wearing something so personally significant to other family members who were still mourning Queen Victoria's loss. The king accepted Margaret's apology graciously, recognizing that her remorse was authentic and that she had learned from this difficult experience. However, he also emphasized the importance of thinking carefully about family sensitivities in the future, particularly regarding items that held special significance for those who had suffered great personal losses. Royal families required extra consideration for such matters due to their public nature and symbolic importance. Frederick carefully placed the Ashworth sapphire in a secure case that Lord William had discreetly brought to the reception room. The necklace would be returned immediately to the royal vault, where it would remain until Princess Catherine's wedding day or other appropriate occasion. This action restored both the proper protocol and the respect that Queen Victoria's memory deserved from all family members. Meanwhile, back in the ballroom, Princess Catherine continued her duties as hostess while anxiously awaiting the outcome of her father's conversation with Margaret. She maintained her gracious demeanor with departing guests, but those closest to her could sense the emotional strain she was experiencing. Queen Isabella stayed nearby, offering subtle support through her presence while managing her own concerns about family harmony. The gala was winding down successfully, with guests expressing their appreciation for a wonderful evening and their satisfaction with the impressive charitable results achieved through the auction. Despite the underlying family tension, the event had fulfilled its primary purpose of raising substantial funds for educational programs and bringing together supporters of worthy causes from across the kingdom and beyond. Several longtime family friends approached Princess Catherine to express their admiration for her grace throughout the evening and their hope that family matters would be resolved appropriately. These conversations were conducted with the discretion that royal protocol demanded, but Catherine understood that observant guests had noticed the unusual situation and were concerned about potential family conflicts that might affect the monarchy's stability. Queen Isabella decided to position herself near the reception room where Frederick and Margaret were meeting, not to eavesdrop, but to be available if her support or intervention became necessary. As the current queen, she had responsibilities for maintaining family unity and ensuring that any conflicts were resolved in ways that protected both personal relationships and public confidence in royal leadership. When King Frederick and Lady Margaret emerged from the private reception room, their expressions suggested that a difficult but necessary conversation had taken place successfully. Margaret's earlier confidence had been replaced by obvious humility, while Frederick maintained his characteristic dignity despite the challenging nature of the discussion they had just concluded. The absence of the sapphire necklace from Margaret's neck was immediately noticeable to those watching carefully. Lord William discreetly departed with the secured necklace, ensuring that it would be returned to its proper place in the royal vault without further delay or public attention. His efficiency and discretion were exactly what such situations required, protecting both family privacy and royal protocol, while ensuring that appropriate actions were taken to resolve the inappropriate situation that had developed. Princess Catherine noticed her father and Margaret returning to the ballroom, and felt a tremendous sense of relief wash over her. While she did not yet know the details of their conversation, Frederick's calm demeanor and Margaret's subdued appearance suggested that the matter had been addressed appropriately. The emotional burden that Catherine had carried throughout the evening was finally beginning to lift. As the last guests began to depart, the royal family gathered to thank their staff and volunteers for organizing such a successful charitable event. Despite the challenging family dynamics that had played out behind the scenes, the gala had achieved its goals magnificently and would be remembered primarily for its generous support of educational causes rather than any internal conflicts. The evening was concluding, but important conversations and relationship repairs lay ahead for the royal family. Margaret's thoughtless action had created wounds that would require time and care to heal completely. However, her genuine remorse and Frederick's wise leadership had prevented a minor family conflict from becoming a major crisis that could damage both personal relationships and public confidence in royal judgment. 3 days after the gala, Princess Catherine stood in the royal garden where her mother had loved to spend quiet morning hours among the roses. The peaceful setting provided the perfect environment for reflection on the events that had unfolded and the family conversations that had taken place since that difficult evening. The Ashworth sapphire was safely back in the vault, but the emotional aftermath of Margaret's actions required careful attention and healing. King Frederick had requested a private meeting with Catherine the morning after the gala to discuss her feelings about the incident and ensure that she felt supported by the family's response. Their conversation had been deeply meaningful, allowing Catherine to express her pain while also acknowledging Margaret's genuine remorse and commitment to making better choices in the future. Frederick's wise handling of the situation had strengthened their father-daughter relationship significantly. Lady Margaret had sent a heartfelt written apology to Princess Catherine, expressing her deep regret for the thoughtless pain she had caused and her commitment to being more considerate of family sensitivities in the future. The letter demonstrated genuine understanding of why her actions had been so hurtful and included a promise to always consider the emotional significance of royal items before making decisions about their use. Princess Catherine had responded to Margaret's letter with grace and forgiveness, recognizing that the incident had taught valuable lessons to everyone involved about the importance of considering others' feelings when dealing with items that held deep personal significance. Catherine's response emphasized family unity and moving forward positively rather than dwelling on past mistakes that had been acknowledged and corrected. Queen Isabella had played a crucial role in facilitating healing conversations between all family members affected by the incident. Her diplomatic skills and genuine care for family harmony had helped ensure that the conflict was resolved in ways that strengthened rather than damaged important relationships. Isabella's balanced approach respected both Queen Victoria's memory and the need for current family members to work together effectively. The charitable results from the gala continued to generate positive attention throughout the kingdom. Newspapers focused on the record-breaking fundraising success and the impressive support shown for educational causes by generous donors. The royal family's commitment to philanthropy was highlighted extensively, overshadowing any minor social complications that might have occurred during the evening's festivities. Princess Catherine had used the experience as motivation to establish clearer guidelines about the use of significant royal jewelry and other family heirlooms. Working with palace advisors, she developed protocols that would prevent similar misunderstandings in the future, while ensuring that precious family items were treated with appropriate respect and used only for suitable occasions by designated family members. The educational programs that benefited from the gala's fundraising success began receiving their enhanced support within weeks of the event. New libraries opened in rural areas, scholarship programs expanded significantly, and literacy initiatives reached children who had previously lacked access to quality educational resources. The positive impact extended far beyond the royal family's internal relationships to benefit thousands of citizens throughout the realm. Lady Margaret had quietly begun volunteering with one of the educational charities supported by the gala, demonstrating her commitment to making positive contributions rather than simply appearing at social events for personal recognition. Her dedication to meaningful service impressed family members and helped rebuild trust that had been damaged by her thoughtless decision regarding the necklace. King Frederick observed these positive developments with satisfaction, recognizing that the difficult incident had ultimately strengthened family bonds and clarified important values about respect, consideration, and proper use of royal resources. His leadership during the crisis had demonstrated the wisdom and diplomatic skills that made him an effective monarch capable of handling both public responsibilities and private family challenges. The Ashworth sapphire remained safely secured in the royal vault, waiting for the appropriate occasion when Princess Catherine would wear it as her mother had intended. Catherine looked forward to that future day when she would honor Queen Victoria's memory by wearing the beautiful necklace at her own wedding or coronation, surrounded by family members who understood and respected its deep significance. Several weeks later, Princess Catherine received a beautiful bouquet of roses from Margaret, accompanied by a note expressing continued regret for the Gala incident and appreciation for Catherine's gracious forgiveness. The gesture demonstrated that Margaret truly understood the importance of ongoing consideration for others' feelings rather than simply apologizing once and moving on without further thought. The royal family's handling of the jewelry incident became a model for addressing future conflicts with wisdom, respect, and commitment to family unity. Staff members and advisors noted the effective communication, genuine accountability, and focus on positive resolution that had characterized everyone's response to a potentially damaging situation that could have created lasting divisions within a monarchy. Princess Catherine's reputation for grace under pressure was enhanced significantly by her handling of the difficult evening. Guests who had witnessed her composure while dealing with obvious emotional pain expressed increased admiration for her strength of character and suitability for future royal leadership. The incident had revealed qualities that would serve her well as a future queen. Queen Isabella's role in facilitating family healing strengthened her position within the royal household and demonstrated her commitment to honoring Queen Victoria's memory while building positive relationships with all family members. Her diplomatic approach had proven that she could handle sensitive situations involving the previous queen's legacy with appropriate respect and wisdom. The annual charity gala was remembered primarily for its remarkable fundraising success and positive impact on educational opportunities throughout the kingdom. While some guests recalled the unusual appearance of certain royal jewelry, the overall impression remained focused on the generous support shown for worthy causes and the royal family's dedication to improving citizens' lives through philanthropy. Lady Margaret's genuine transformation following the incident impressed everyone who observed her changed approach to royal responsibilities and social events. Her commitment to meaningful service rather than superficial appearances demonstrated that people could learn from mistakes and make positive changes that benefited both family relationships and broader community welfare. As autumn arrived at the palace, Princess Catherine felt a deep sense of peace about the resolution of the jewelry incident and its aftermath. The difficult experience had taught her important lessons about leadership, forgiveness, and the strength that came from handling challenges with dignity and grace. These qualities would serve her well throughout her future reign. The Ashworth sapphire waited patiently in its secure setting, ready to fulfill its destiny as a symbol of royal continuity when the appropriate time arrived. Until then, it remained a powerful reminder of love, loss, respect, and the importance of considering others' feelings when making decisions that affected precious family memories and traditions. King Frederick reflected on the successful resolution of a challenging family situation and felt confident that his daughter possessed all the qualities necessary for effective royal leadership. Catherine's handling of the jewelry incident had demonstrated wisdom, strength, and compassion that would serve the kingdom well when she eventually assumed the crown and continued their family's legacy of service.